Welcome to Live Courageously, podcast show number 10 of 2023. I'm your host, John Duffy, and this is my 26th podcast show since it started a year ago. Live Courageously has been the conscious theme of my life for the last 3 years since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, and it's been an unconscious theme for most of my life. If you haven't seen the previous 25 podcasts with some of my amazing, courageous friends, sharing their powerful stories of overcoming all odds and going on to live powerful lives, you can watch them on my John Duffy Live Courageously YouTube channel. And I have another 50 friends planned to be guests on my future shows. I'm definitely blessed with a lot of amazing friends. So keep coming back every week, Sunday at 2 p.m. to watch the new shows as they go live. So why live courageously? Because fear, in my opinion, is just a reaction, but courage is a choice. And I suggest that you consciously choose courage and faith over fear every time you experience fear to get you through life and to deal with whatever life may throw at you in the future. And it will throw stuff at us so that we don't want or like. So choose courage. Today, my guest is someone who typifies that in his whole life. And he's Major General James Johnson, U.S. Air Force, retired, and also now the CEO of a great organization, Operation Gratitude, that I've been a volunteer for years and also had the opportunity at one point to be an ambassador for them when they had that program going. But let's go on. James, and let me share his experience. James is a senior executive with leadership experience across operations, logistics, talent management, and human resilience. He's served over 30 years in the United States Air Force and now is the president and chief executive officer for Operation Gratitude, a nonprofit organization. In his current role, James leads a team of professional and grassroots volunteers and supporters nationwide with the mission to honor the service of our military and first responders by creating opportunities for Americans to express their gratitude. Hundreds of thousands of service members and first responders receive care packages every year from Operation Gratitude. And I think James will share what the number is now, but it's in the millions. And they get these packages from volunteers and supporters. Operation Gratitude envisions a future where all who serve believe that the American people care. James previously served on the board of directors for the Flag and General Office Network, a nonprofit veteran corporation of admirals and general officers, and dedicated to the personal and professional growth and service to the nation. He currently serves as the vice chairman for the U.S. Air Force Academy Board of Visitors and as a committee member for the Department of Defense's Advisory Committee on Diversity and Inclusion. James holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from the University of Puget Sound, a Master's of Business Administration degree from St. Martin's College, a Master's of Arts degree in National Security and Strategic Studies from the U.S. Naval War College, and a Master's of Science degree in National Resource Strategy from the Industrial College of the Armed Forces. Greetings and welcome to Major General James Johnson. Greetings, my friend.
Great to see you, John. Great. That's a lot. That's a lot to read. Sorry, you had to read all that.
Well, it's a lot to read, but you know, when you read, as I'm reading it, I'm going, wow, this is not only a lot to read, but it's a lot to experience. And your experiences both in the military, but even in your education, the amount of education you've had at so many levels of different types. I'm just impressed by, as I read it, it impressed me even more. I was like, wow, what was I doing when I was that age? But
well, I'll tell you, I was really blessed to be part of a journey in the military that includes educational experiences, and that's what our military does for so many Americans, that raise their hand to serve, and I'm just really appreciative of the fact that I had those experiences because of that service.
Well, I usually start the show, and can I call you James?
Absolutely. Please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, James, I usually start the show with two questions. One is, how did we meet? When did we first meet? And then the second question is, what does live courageously mean to you? So let's start with the first one, and then I'd love your opinion on the second one as well.
Yeah. So we met at late August 2021. There was, as I came on board, we did a town hall with blue shirts, and we can kind of get into more of that later. But folks that have volunteered for many years, some from the very beginning with Operation Gratitude, are known as blue shirts, and there's a whole history and story behind what they do and why they're called blue shirts. But I was fortunate to meet the folks that really established Operation Gratitude, and you were there amongst them as well. And so I really enjoyed getting a chance to shake your hand and just to talk to you a little bit about the work you've been doing there in California and really across the country.
Well, it was great meeting you, and you stepped into taking over, and obviously it was during the COVID period, and so you stepped into this, and we'll get to you, like you said, we'll get to Operation Gratitude, what it does, its history, what it did during COVID, and what it continues to do today. But during that period, you had to take the organization and pivot it to keep it functioning and continuing to do its mission and expand its mission during that time, which is what you did. So it was an honor to meet you that day.
Yeah.
And just the second question is just and obviously you've had such a broad experience in lifetime. What does live courageously mean to you?
Well, I would agree with you that that courageous is different than bravery in that bravery is more of a quality than courageous is, and courageous is a choice that those who are living courageously have decided to do that in spite of any fear that they might have. In spite of any apprehension to go forward, in spite of that, because of possibly a cause that's driving them.
And I think what you've done, but also what you do with Operation Gratitude is to recognize those people in the military, in the first responders, and all those people who on a day-to-day basis, yes, they sometimes it's bravery that they represent, but sometimes it's making a choice in the face of fear to be courageous in that incident where somebody else might not have the ability to make that choice or not choose to make that choice. And yet they make it on a daily basis, which is why honor them on a regular basis, like your organization does, is so important, I believe.
Yeah, our military and our first responders live that ethic daily. That spirit of being courageous, knowing that at any moment they could be called to go into the face of danger. And I think a lot of it, because of the training that we provide to our military and first responders, that training serves them when that moment comes where there might be some danger, and they have to go into that danger, put aside any fear, and live courageously in that moment.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
Because you've had a long lifetime. Let's go back to your beginning, your personal story. Where did you start out? How did you join the military? Why the Air Force? And then we'll go a little bit into, I'm gonna put up some of all the jobs that you did in a minute, but tell us a little bit, what was your background that took you to the Air Force, that took you to leadership? What was that in you that became that?
Well, I'd say, I was a military brat growing up. So I was born, my dad was serving in the Army at the time, he was in Vietnam that first couple of years of my life. And so then once he came back, we traveled from, base to base in sort of military fashion. He served 20 years. And so a lot of my early years were while he was in the military. We lived in places like Arizona, down in Fort Huachuca. We lived in Ethiopia. For a small period before they went Marxist. It's actually in Eritrea now, that location, but also in Germany and in Washington State, Fort Lewis, and so in different places, following my dad around, my parents around. I had two siblings growing up, so I was the middle child. That probably tells some people will probably think that explains a lot, but. I ended up going to high school in Washington State. My dad retired out at Fort Lewis.
Okay.
And then I went to school here locally at University of Puget Sound. And it was really a bit of chance. I knew I was going to go into the military. And I knew because I really felt comfortable with the community that was the military, having grown up and been in places where, the majority of the time as a child, I spent in either a school where most of the kids, if not all the kids, were military, or on a base where, Dependent Youth Association activities were all military, and just, shopping on base and doing all those things. That was sort of the community that surrounded me that made me feel that I belonged there. And then the other one was just sort of interacting with, my father and their friends that were also in the military, and just learning a little bit about what it meant to serve. And so when I was graduating from high school and wasn't certain, which direction to go, which service, and all of that, I had a friend who actually was going to Air Force ROTC and invited me to join him for their leadership laboratory. And it was on that night that I realized I really wanted to join the Air Force. There's just it was a culture that I really immediately gravitated towards. I felt the instructors at the ROTC there were really amazing, and I just kept going. And so then in 1987, graduated from University of Puget Sound and was commissioned. And, my parents obviously supported me going to the military because they were familiar with it too, right? Today, that's not the case. There are a lot of family members who are unfamiliar with the military and don't necessarily encourage their children to join. And so I, maybe we'll have a chance to talk about that later, but I think there's a great opportunity for families to encourage their children to join our military and serve for some of the reasons you already highlighted. There are just some really great benefits to joining, not just the education, but just the learning and experiences that I gained throughout all that time. So I joined, actually commissioned in 87 and came on active duty in 88, and over to my first assignment in Europe with ground launch cruise missiles.
Well, I'm just going to throw up a couple of all the jobs you've done, just so the audience can take a look at them. As you can see, your command in Africa right up here at the top of the thing, as well as the Air Force director. That's just some of his resume. Here's more of things that you've done, both in the Air Force and also in the civilian world, and then finishing up, going up to president and CEO of Operation Gratitude, and additional stuff in the military. So you've had a long, a lot of experience. And like you said, I had a great experience. I did it last year and this year to go watch the air show with the Thunderbirds and Blue Angels, and just, to be up close and personal for me with these young men and women who are, both the pilots, the amazing pilots. It's like you're watching Maverick, but for real. And then, but all the people around them too, the people who service them, the mechanics, every single person,
affairs, historian, everyone.
Yes, the whole team was just such amazing people. And you just realize the amount of commitment and service. And that was the message that, matter of fact, the head pilot from the Thunderbirds put forward, which kind of echoes, and I talked to him personally for a while, was the message of service. That, we got to get over this culture of selfies and the culture of narcissism and get back to the culture of service. And I think that was a great message. And I think, maybe you can expound upon that. And then we're going to get into it more when we talk about service in the civilian world, like Operation Gratitude. But for me, it hit me hard that, that message needs to get out into the culture even stronger.
Yeah. Each of the services has their sort of core values. Some of those are unique to that service just based on their sort of mission and purpose. And the Air Force Thunderbirds, I think, are just amazing ambassadors for our nation. Really, the planes are red, white, and blue for a reason, because it really represents service to the country, not to any particular service, but they go out and around the world to share with people everywhere, how powerful the country is, obviously, to have this sort of precision flight team, but also that we are ambassadors, both inside our own country, where they help to recruit our next generation of airmen, but also to just show the importance of having a strong and talented military. What I'd also say is that the core values for the Air Force are service, excellence, and integrity. And service before self is that sort of first core value that I think about, because you're spot on that is essentially the type of people that are serving in our military. They are thinking about what the nation needs, not what they need. And so when we talk about sacrifice, there are a lot of sacrifices that our military does every day, not just the member, but their families too. They serve and sacrifice alongside the military member, and then excellence in all we do. And so, that's what the Thunderbirds sort of represent when you see that precision formation. And then the integrity piece, right? That in today's day and age where people are questioning facts and all of that you would never question, an individual serving in the military. That's the sort of way that they wake up every day, is that their integrity would be unquestionable, right? That they will always do the right thing. Yeah. So I think service before self is really key to this. It would change the character of a lot of our nation to have more people serving.
Well, to just pivot back to what you said a little bit earlier, you talked about when you went into the military, your family was military and a lot more people were, where now the amount of people, our military is relatively so small, with 1% of the population actually in the military. I think it's 1%, but it's a small percent of the population. And the amount of people who know family members who are in the military obviously decreased because of that. So, that too, not having that knowledge of the military and what it does for most of the population, they don't have a clue really. And I know, until I did some work with the Marine Corps, I didn't have a clue either, because I never got a chance to be up close and personal and see what people did in the military and see that selfless sacrifice, et cetera. But talk a little bit about that, because you said you wanted to get back to that little point.
Well, I would say that when I came in 1998, 1988, we had just over 600,000 airmen. When I got out in 2018, we had just over 300,000 airmen.
Wow.
That's how significant that reduction has been in terms of people serving. And as the nation's continuing to grow, while that proportion of the service individuals serving has gotten to be a smaller proportion of that, you can see how it's difficult for some young Americans who are sort of in that eligible population to know, what does it mean to serve? Where I could turn, my father, and I had other, friends whose parents had served, that I could turn and have some understanding of what does it mean to serve. And the fact that, when called upon, you'll go where the nation needs you to go without questioning it. And that may potentially require you to give your life. And that sort of selflessness really requires you to live courageously, right? Knowing that could be a potential outcome for you.
Given your background, what was what stood out as some of the best or the most challenging experiences for you in the Air Force in your career? Was it particular places you went to, or was it missions that you were on? What kind of kept you filled with passion of being in there so long? What were some of the highlights?
It's interesting. When I was a really young officer, I remember I was traveling with a senior officer, and we were at dinner, and I asked him a similar question. What was your favorite sort of assignment? And he said they were all great. And at first I thought, that's kind of weak. You guys give me more than that.
That's right.
The problem is that over time, not the problem, but what I learned over time was he's right for different reasons. They were all great for different reasons. And it also, as I thought about it, I enjoyed those. I really embraced the opportunities at each of those places to really appreciate, what was all around. Too often we're just moving, and how they say, stop and smell the roses. You really do need to stop and be appreciative, right? Be grateful, show gratitude for what's right there where you are. And so I think back when I was, my first assignment, ground launched cruise missiles, we were serving in Germany at the time with tactical nuclear weapons. It was really an important time for our nation. As the end of the Cold War. President Reagan signed the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Agreement that actually reduced those, got rid of those, as well as the Pershings that the Army was using. And I just felt like I was a part of something special. And I really, because that was my first assignment, got to experience what it means to be a part of a unit, right? That,
Mm.
that there is this camaraderie that you can't find it anywhere else. In the military is just different, right?
Right.
That's the camaraderie, and that you care about the person on your right and your left in a different way. That you care about the people that work for you in a way that you care about them 24/7. It's not just while they're working. I know if you're out having a tough time at home, or whether you're single or married, family, whatever. And I really started to learn that and grew in that as I became a leader, had leadership opportunities later on in my career. But I think about operational assignments that I had where I was flying, just great opportunities to go around the world and have an impact, with other American forces, but also with other some of our allies and partner nations that we did exercises with, and so I love that part of it. Even in assignments where it was a staff tour, which most of us kind of said you don't want to go to staff, but the learning that took place there, so you can understand why things were done the way they were. It gave you a wholly different perspective when you went back to the field. And then I think about opportunities like, being responsible for all the DoD logistics in Africa, which was, it's 3 times the size of the United States. It's just the military gives you so many opportunities. I just never would have envisioned that one, or that when I was in charge of Air Force recruiting. There's just, as I go through each assignment, each one of them was special for different reasons.
Well, I can only, as someone like I said, when I was at the air show and speaking with the crew, I guess they got about 130 people who are part of the crew for the Thunderbirds. And, all the young men and women I spoke to individually, they kind of echo what you're saying. One, the care for each other. You could see the care was
Right.
24/7, right?
Right.
They were a team like no other team. And that was so special. But then the opportunity that they got, I spoke with one young man who kind of grew up in poverty, and a working class kid, and worked at stores, and just Target, and just anything
Right.
to survive. And now he just felt like his life just stepped to another level.
Right.
So proud, so excited about the opportunity and the adventure that he had just went on by joining and being selected for this group of people to be able to be part of it. So that was just amazing. But I think that echoes what you said so well. The other question I have for you is I think it's so important too, is people being leaders. And you were a leader throughout your career and continue to be a leader. And I think sometimes people have to understand, what is leadership? What does a leader do? And how important it is to be a real leader that leads by example. And you had enough experience to do that. So maybe you can share some thoughts on leadership and what it means to be a leader.
Yeah, I think it's really important for this sort of framework of leadership to be founded in some expertise, right? That you have some, you've rolled up your sleeves and done the work, right? In some form or fashion, in some field of endeavor, right? And so I had those opportunities. Again, as you watch in the military, as you grow, you start out in some sort of functional requirement, whether you're, in a tank, or you're infantry, or you're flying planes. There's some functional expertise that you grow, right? And in that, you understand what it takes to train, what it takes to have discipline, right? All of those things, what it takes to develop your mind and work with others, all the things that you'll need that will serve you better and well when you're a leader. And then, leaders really need to be mentored and watch others who've led, to learn some of the things that you won't pick up on your own as a leader. How to mentor others, and interpersonal skills, and how to communicate well with others that you're leading. At the end of the day, leader is relied on to sort of provide a vision of where that your team is going, and then to make sure that all of those teammates are properly resourced to get there, and encouraged along the way, and feel like they're contributing, and what they do matters, right? So at the end of the day, I always enjoy going into an organization and then collaboratively building, where is it we're going? Make sure everybody's on the same page. What is it we do? Why do we show up? Where are we going? How do we know we're going to get there? And then resourcing them to do that, right? To get them to that future destination, and cheering them on all the way.
So after all these years of service in the military and service to our nation, you continue to serve in a new capacity, and you chose to work and become the CEO of Operation Gratitude. So I'm just going to throw up a little thing of Operation Gratitude, what the mission is of Operation Gratitude. I'm sure you know it well as the CEO. And what made you take that step forward? Why Operation Gratitude? And what about Operation Gratitude resonated with you personally, given your experiences over your career?
You know, it actually was tied to my last assignment in the military. I was the director for human resilience for all the airmen in the Air Force and active duty guard, reserve. And one of the things that I learned, and we knew in that role, was how important showing gratitude was, both to the person that receives the gratitude as well as the person that is showing the gratitude. And we know that, you know, there's this release of serotonin and dopamine that is a chemical reaction in your brain that makes you feel better about life in general, right? So it affects your well-being. And you know, I define well-being to be sort of your general life satisfaction, your sense of purpose, and your sort of emotional stability. And when I went to some of my first assembly events where volunteers were showing up to show gratitude, I saw it happening over the course of that event, and it's a sense of joy that people get because they have this common purpose when they show up at the assembly event, and there's this general life satisfaction that they're doing good, and then it creates a sort of emotional stability in that you're with all these other people that are happy, and you sort of that sort of overtakes that whole group. And when I was first approached about the opportunity to join Operation Gratitude, I actually didn't know a lot about the organization at all. So I actually had to dig in and learn more. Got a chance to meet with some of the board members, met with some of the volunteers, longstanding volunteers. Some of them were actually on staff. Got a chance to talk to them. And the more I learned about the organization, every turn, it was shouting at me, "This is it. This is the place that you want to be." And, you know, after I joined, it's just been underscored and reinforced all along the way that there's something so powerful about the ability to affect people when we send them a care package 15 years ago. And I'll have someone come up to me and say, "I got a care package from you in 2005.
Wow.
And to remember that moment, right? And that's the impact that, you know, Carolyn Blashik, our founder, the intent was that anybody who's serving should know that what they do matters, right? That Americans care about what they're doing. And when somebody comes up and tells you that, you know that they've known that for this many years since they received that care package, that someone that doesn't even know them has that impact. That's why I joined. That's why I lead. And that's why it's a privilege for me to be a part of Operation Gratitude.
Well, just to echo, and I agree with you. I mean, I know in my life, James, that there's two things that I say are probably maybe the two most important things that kind of impacted me. And one was when I adopted a belief that I was 100% responsible for my life. That was the first thing, taking responsibility. And the second one was gratitude, to live every day with gratitude. And every day I keep a gratitude journal when I write down all the things I'm grateful for every day. And to me, those two things kind of, if not other things, those two things probably impacted my life the most and continue to impact my life going forward. So I agree. I think people don't realize gratitude is such a gift. Yeah. If you look at it every day, and then if you take active gratitude, like Operation Gratitude does, it becomes even better because you don't just take it from words, but you actually put it in practice, which is pretty amazing. So on that note, I'm going to play a little short video about Operation Gratitude, and then you can explain to the viewers the history of it, what it does, and then some other things as we go forward. So let me just put on this video. And here we go.
I decided I was going to have to find a way as a civilian to do my part. When my children were younger and they used to go off to summer camp, I would put together care packages just with things that I knew would remind them of home and just let them know that I was thinking about them. So I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send care packages to the troops.
Wow. Thanks for showing that. That's fantastic. There's a lot that's captured in there. I'd love to chat about that.
Yes, well, and we'll go a little further. I'm gonna throw up one more picture because what it is the 20th anniversary of Operation Gratitude, right?
Yeah,
So
love that.
it started there, and now you're going to be having an event coming up next week at the forward operating base in Los Angeles. So tell us the history, tell us everything, that people who don't know about Operation Gratitude, what it is, what it does, and how important it is.
Yeah, it's really an important story. We call it the origin story. And there's so many elements that I think will connect with Americans across the country in different ways. So Carolyn Blashick, who started the organization, really, it starts before the actual mission was formed. But I think it's an important part of the story because it's shared by a lot of other grateful Americans. And that story begins really after 9/11, when she was overcome with a desire to do something for the country, right? As Americans were when we saw that horrific act against our country, and she wanted to volunteer. In fact, she wanted to volunteer to serve. So she actually went to a recruiting station to sign up, and they said, "Well, you're in 40s, small children," and didn't really fit the eligibility profile, and so they sent her on her way. But she was not going to be deterred from making a difference and volunteering. So she went and started volunteering in a military lounge at LAX. And while she was there in 2003, a service member came in who was in distress. He was back in LA for his mother's funeral. He was getting ready to deploy over to the Middle East. And he was talking to Carolyn about the fact that he was there for his mother's funeral, but his infant child had passed before that and his wife had left him. And he said to Carolyn, "I'm getting ready to deploy overseas. I don't think I'm coming back this time, but it doesn't really matter because I don't think anyone cares anyway." And it was in that moment that the mission for Operation Gratitude was born, that if somebody is serving our country, is potentially going to put their life in harm's way, that they should know we care about that their service matters to us. And then, as you saw in the film, she went home and thought, how can I make a difference? And just started with 4 care packages because she knew that was a meaningful way to send a message to somebody about that you love them and you care about them. And so those 4 care packages, she didn't know anyone at the time because her immediate family wasn't serving. And so I think that's another important element that, we have so many Americans across the country that just because they don't have someone serving doesn't mean they don't appreciate those who do. And I think her story really is relevant to all of us in that, having that volunteer spirit is important for others as well as yourself. And then doing something meaningful can really have a significant effect for people for years, if not for their entire life. And so after she sent those 4 care packages, donations started to come into her. Friends and family started to show up to help. Before long, the care package, all the things, the contents for the care packages flowed out of the living room and out on the front porch and driveway. And then shortly after that, she found a common purpose with someone else who joined her in that effort in the armory that you're familiar with, right? That they found a local National Guard armory where they could do this, and they would have over 1,000 people, 1,500 people show up on a Saturday. 1,500 people in the hot, July, August, summer in California to do care packages. But it was also a party, right? That it was just people were having a great time because they had that common purpose that they were going to help send a strong message to those who were serving. And they did it alongside other grateful Americans. So regardless of what you thought before you walked in, what you were talking about, any of that, everyone was on the same sheet when they walked in. This is about those young men and women that are over there serving. And I'm glad I can be here with you to do this. Let's do this together. And that sort of thing is something we got to get back to, right? That was possible, and it is possible for us to do that sort of monumental effort, because we still have tens of thousands of service members deployed around the world. Just because we're not in Afghanistan or Iraq like we were, doesn't mean that we don't have men and women deployed in the Pacific, in Eastern Europe for Ukraine effort, in the Middle East, in Africa, and so all over the globe we have men and women who are deployed that need to know that what they do matters.
Well,
yeah. So if I could,
please.
So she started the effort into the armory, and then the first 10 years they were able to do 1 million care packages. In fact, the millionth care package, she went with some of the other blue shirts, who are those individuals who were, from the very beginning, individuals who showed up every assembly event. They knew how the operation ran. They were running the operation. They had different roles that they took on, and quickly became like a staff functioning like a staff for this operation. And some of them went overseas with her. She had, created these relationships with some of our military leaders and really military members up and down the chain. But she was able to get approval to go over to the Middle East and deliver that millionth care package on board the USS Gettysburg. And so that was a pretty significant event. Carolyn has she's a very dynamic leader, a very charismatic and dynamic person. I think back to the story that, the General Hertling was division commander at the time. She'd reached out to him. He was over in the Middle East, and she said, I'd like to get a roster of the names for your troops so we can get their names on each care package. And he said, I don't think you know who I am. I got 35,000 troops. And she said, I don't think you know who I am. We can do 35,000 names on care packages. And she did. And she got them over there. And so then she delivered that millionth care package. And on the way back, she and the other blue shirts realized, we can't stop. We got to keep going. And I think that underscores a really important point, which is our country will always need brave men and women to raise their hand to serve. And they will always need to know that what they do matters. And the third thing I think that's really important is volunteers across America are really important in sending that message.
Well, I 100%, and like you said, I know from my experience, the first time I went, I was blown away by the enthusiasm, the energy.
Right.
It was like a big party. Everybody was just having fun. And it was like everybody was there. Young Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, retired people, every nationality, men, everything was there.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody was there working together, having fun together, getting to know each other together, but serving. And not, putting aside all the other stuff and putting aside the worries and the things that are, holding you in life. And just for that period of time, just knowing that it was about doing something for others and having a great experience while you're doing it.
That's exactly right.
I mean, it was fabulous. And I made, one of my, who you talked about, blue shirt, Bob Donovan, who obviously became best friends, a brother of mine for life. Because of that experience. So you never know what that does when you go out and you do service, how that's going to change your life for the future as well. So I know for me it did. And I think you're 100% right. People knowing that they can do that. And then the troops and their families, because the other side of it is, started out sending it to the troops and getting it all, but then you expanded the mission and started taking care of, because, their families serve too. And their families go through a hard period of time as well. And their kids. And being able to send packages to them and to kind of let them know that somebody cares about them. All that was just amazing, I think. But go why don't you explain that a little bit more for people who may not know?
Carolyn really evolved the program when she saw opportunities that could reinforce that origin story, that mission of honoring those who serve. And so one of the ways we do that is a program for the families that we use, battalion buddies. They're stuffed bears that will go to an event, and whether it's a group or a company may want us to come in, and they'll do a sort of a team building effort, and they'll want to stuff these bears, and then we send them to the deployer before they leave so that they can hand this stuffed bear to their child as a warm hug while they're away. And so that's been enormous. Last year we did about 20,000 bears. So there's a lot of children over the years that have benefited from volunteers creating these bears, bringing them to life, so that the deployer can hand that to their child and know that the American public's behind them and their family. And so that's been a really important evolution. And then we also expanded to include our first responders, right? Because it really is about serving and potentially putting your life in harm's way. And in that, with those responsibilities, we want them to know that we understand that could require you to give your life. And that's important to us, that every day you're doing things that are service before self. You may have a family who's sacrificing. You are sacrificing, right? They give up a lot of things because they don't serve for like a day or hours. They serve for years at a time. And that's a lot of time that they're devoting to the nation or their community. And so these care packages are intended for a sort of broad swath of those people who have raised their hand, whether it's a military serving today, veterans who've served, our first responders, firefighters, and law enforcement, and our basic training recruits, whether it's in law enforcement or in the military, as they're just starting their journey. Our vision is that everyone that graduates from basic training would get a care package saying thank you for your service. Everyone who deploys would get a care package saying thank you for your service. When they separate, retire, they would be getting a care package. And they're each customized, right? The goal would be that we get to a point where they all have a name on it for that individual, and it's for that experience, right? So we have letters in every care package. And that's a place where we need a lot of help, right? So this is a chance to really shout out to your audience that if they can write letters for us, it's so appreciated, because those letters that go into that care package, whether you started out with dear veteran, dear service member, dear first responder, that goes into a care package for our recruit grads. It says thanks for starting the journey. For those who are deploying, it says, thanks for going far from home for us. And then those who are separating or retiring, it says, thanks for all the sacrifice you made over the years of your service.
Well, I think, and yes, that's a call out to anybody who wants to volunteer. I mean, it's just one way to volunteer. There's so many, and you're gonna talk about in a little bit about some of the ways that people can volunteer and serve. But that's a special one, because I've heard stories too of, that people keep the letters that they received, right, especially from the kids,
right,
when a kid writes them a letter, for a lifetime, because,
right,
you're far away, and it's just, to get something, because the package is cool. What's in the package is cool,
right,
but the letter personalizes it and just makes it, why there's a human out here who's taken the time to write this handwritten letter to say, I thank you and appreciate you. And you're doing something, and I honor your service in that sense. So the letters are very special. And I think for people receiving them, they're even more special. So that's very cool.
Yeah. We do get letters from all walks of life, right? And, men, women, children, all ages. And it's just a really unique way to touch someone when you're reading that that they took the time to really put down in words something that is so meaningful as, thank you for your service. Some of it could be that short. Some of them are 3 pages long, right? I read one from a young woman. I imagine she's probably a teenager, but she talked about how she hoped that they were taking care of themselves and getting sleep and hydrating and eating well and staying away from certain foods, that are fatty and stay in shape and, make sure that, you dry your hair when you're done with your, take a shower. My grandmother told me, your hair gets all knotted and just, it was just funny. She just went off on all these little tips.
All the way into everything. That's cool.
It's exactly what you want to read, right? When you're on there, somebody's telling you all these different things. And then, I've seen the ones from children, right? They say thank you and the K's backwards, right? Or
right.
Right. And I love those, right? Stick figures, and you'll frame them. you will, I've framed those pictures before. So, and you'll keep cards, and, maybe I'm reading a book at the time, and, you get a card from someone, and you just put the card in the book, and it's another surprise next time you're reading, or flipping through something. The letters and cards are a signature item for us. It's the first thing on the box when they open it, that it'll have that card greeting them and saying how much they're loved and cared about.
Well, that's very special. Well, once again, let's go a little deeper. It's the 20th anniversary.
You bet.
Next Saturday at Forward Operating Base up in the Valley, Chatsworth. You're going to be having an event to celebrate that, and also everybody's going to be doing boxes as well. Talk about that. I'm going to share the where people can reach out to Operation Gratitude at the website, on Facebook, on Instagram. But tell us about the 20th anniversary. I got to throw up a little picture of you with the founder. That's you.
Yeah, that's Carolyn. That's great. So that's we're doing a deployed troop box there. You can sort of tell by the size. So on the 18th, this coming Saturday at 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock at 9409 Owens Mouth Avenue there in Chatsworth, we are going to put together 5,000 care packages for our deployed troops. And it is literally a party, and it's a kickoff party for us. It's the kickoff for our anniversary year. We'll have events throughout the year, both at our forward operating base there in Chatsworth and in places around the country where we're partnering with others, whether it's a corporate partner or individuals and groups that they're getting together to do things with us. And then we'll culminate the anniversary on the 9th of December with our finale party. But really excited about having folks come out. Again, you can go out to operationgratitude.com to sign up and find out more about not just the kickoff party that's coming up on the 18th, but throughout the year. We'll definitely be posting about it on our website, as well as sending out some of that information on social media. So both in LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you'll see us active on all those locations. We'd love to hear from you too at info@operationgratitude.com. So that's another way to get a hold of us, is info@operationgratitude.com.
Yeah, I have some of, I don't think I have all of them, but I'll just put it up real quick and I'll save it later. This is just some of the places, the website, the Facebook, locally, the 2 different pages. So once again, info@operationgratitude.com. So step back for a second. Obviously, people can show up on the 18th. They can come to this, going to be an incredible event, and be part of that, and go through the information and go through the website to find out the information at the forward operating base. How can people get involved nationwide as volunteers? Obviously, go to your page, and your page will link them to volunteers. But what are some of the things that people do as volunteers? Writing letters, obviously, showing up at whenever there's Boxing Days happening. What else do people do as members of Volunteers for Operation Gratitude?
There's really a lot of ways that you can contribute to the contents of the care package or shipping the care package, as well as the assembly event, right? So when you think about the contents of the care package, obviously the letter we talked about, but we also do these paracord bracelets, which over the years have become quite a feature for our care package. But previously it was, a bracelet that would attach on your wrist. Now we've got what is a paracord lanyard, which you could hang it on your backpack, your ruck, your belt. You could fasten it around your wrist if you wanted to use it that way. And it's actually a lot easier to construct, but on our website, you can find the video on how to do it. You can make those, and we put those in the care package. And that's important because those paracord bracelets, or now lanyard, are multifunction tools for our first responders and our military members who are serving, that they might be able to, you can, take it apart in about 5 seconds or less. And then use that paracord for any sort of, you need to tie something down if you're out in the field. We've had people use it for emergencies, whether it's medical emergencies or to call in a, chopper with a light stick on it. There's just so many uses for it that our military members and first responders really appreciate getting those. And that's just one other way to do that. Then you can also contribute to the care package on our website. You can donate to the shipping of the care package, and then showing up in some places where you can do both an assembly, and there also might be an opportunity to distribute. So we stood up our first chapter in San Antonio this year. And what's been beautiful about that is they're sort of from the beginning to end. So there's letter writing in some of the Starbucks stores. They have tables that are sort of a permanent addition in that store where customers and partners can write letters. Those are combined and put into care packages there in town. Those care packages that are taken out to the basic training for those graduating military members there in San Antonio. And they'll have some of the community, could be Starbucks or some of our other partners, Target, just local civilians who just want to show up and say thank you. We'll actually hand these to those individuals as they're getting on their bus to go to their tech training. And it's just really a fantastic opportunity. So from what you can do online, you can do it as an individual. Maybe you do it as a group. Maybe it's a church group or a classroom. We've got lots of teachers that do these as service projects for their classrooms, Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, and all the different sort of teams. We have a lot of individuals that take this into their companies and use these for team building efforts in their company. And I think a lot of the companies understand how important this is to their employees, feeling a part of something special, right? Because of the reasons we talked about with showing gratitude, that it builds a sort of individual resilience, but also a team component. I remember going to one of the events with a corporate partner, and we kind of were going around the room talking about, their volunteer experiences and, why Operation Gratitude. And sort of spontaneously in 3 different sessions with different individuals, they said, I look forward to this all year long. And it was because I think of what they take away as an individual. It makes them feel better, but also as a part of a team that feels better.
Well, I know when I volunteered up at the both at the operating base now in Chatsworth, but the previous one at the National Guard Center, there was a lot of companies that sent their whole company there to work on a Saturday to do it. Companies in the film industry, entertainment industry, as well as a bunch of others. And then, of course, schools, they brought their whole class to do it. And, and you're right, it's that team building together, everybody working together in service beyond what they do in their other life, in their careers, is something special. One thing I know you want to do, but I'll give you an opportunity to do it. But I think you have a great team. I've had the opportunity to know some of the team up at in Chatsworth, and before to Stacy and some of the rest of the team up there. And I think your team both up in Chatsworth, but also I'm sure in DC, and I've just had some communications with them. This wouldn't be possible if you didn't have such a great team.
Absolutely right.
I think I'm, want to just give you a minute to give a shout out to them, because it takes them to be able to put this all together, obviously. And I think we both know that it's like, we're an individual, and then it's the team that really puts it together.
It is. So I'll tell you, we have about just over 30 folks that are on the staff. And that staff is really spread across the country, but we have about a dozen of them that are there at the Ford operating base in Chatsworth. And it does take a whole team. I learned this early on in my career in the military, is that we don't do anything on our own. And I definitely know I don't do anything on my own. So, I have to, I do a lot of prayer and a lot of, and a lot of relying on other people, and hopefully they feel that appreciation that they're a part of a team, that's something special, that they know that too, right? That none of us do anything on our own. And for the folks that will join us on Saturday, you'll see that. You'll see my staff members, John mentioned Stacy, and there's a whole host of, over 10 folks there that will join in the volunteer effort on their weekend to do this, right? Absolutely. Every one of them has a volunteer spirit. Every one of them just, there's no stop in them.
Yes. And then, of course, you expand it down, and like you said, you have the blue shirts, which are these people who have been volunteering for years. That's another big group that, it is an amazing group of individuals who've committed so much of their time and their life to this. And you just can't but appreciate people like that when you see them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, it's a well-oiled machine. We have opportunities throughout the week for individuals to come and volunteer. We have, a number of people that just day in and day out, they show up and they help do things like break down product to prepare for the next assembly event, or they screen letters, or they help to do quality control on some of the bears. They sort of find their niche, and it's just wonderful. They come in and they go to work, and it's just a really great sort of family feeling.
Yeah, and and I know one day that I went to, there was like I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 police officers from a police station who came and all worked together with us. We were doing it, and once again, you get a chance to have these conversations with them.
Yeah.
So here they are doing service in their
Right.
life and their
Right.
career,
Right.
and then they're doing more service.
Right.
Volunteer,
That's
and
right.
I don't know. I'm sure it's probably true for you, but that just impresses me.
It
You
does.
know,
It
I
does.
just get impressed by people like that, and it just makes me go, wow. I'm just makes me feel grateful that I get to meet people like that and know people like that and know that, the world is made up a lot of these people.
Yeah, I think they get the pay it forward sort of mentality, right? That service is in their blood,
Right.
and it's sort of leadership by example.
100%. So going forward, what's some of the vision for Operation Gratitude this year? Where are you taking it? What's some of the things that you can share
You bet.
that you want to accomplish? And then I want to have you kind of close out anything you want to share as we wrap up.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I first came on, you'd mentioned about a pivot. The pivot actually happened just before I came on. So in the pandemic, the organization pivoted because people couldn't get together and do the assembly events. And so there was a lot of bulk shipments. So we still wanted those individuals who were serving to feel the love of the American people. So there was bulk shipments sent, not as many of the individually packaged because we just couldn't get together. And when I came on board, we were kind of getting through that period and people started, wanted to get together. And so we sent out about 135,000 care packages in 2021 of the individually. Now, last year we sent out over 280,000 care packages individually, but our goal is to get to a place where it's over 1 million care packages a year. And that will require us to have chapters across America, right? Where there are volunteer chapters like the one we stood up in San Antonio, where we're looking for people that want to lead a chapter where they can do things like fundraising, or they can do things like getting people together to write letters, or they can do things like assembly events or distributions to veterans and to first responders or to some military that might be in their location they're deploying. That's the goal. So it's over 1 million is a big steep climb for us, but we know that there are grateful Americans across the country who want to join us in that journey.
And how many chapters do you have now?
So we just stood up that one chapter. We wanted to make sure we got that perfect. So that chapter last year supported over 30,000 care packages for our recruit graduates, as well as servicing veterans in that community and first responders in that community. So we're looking at a couple of other communities that want to come forward and raise their hand to lead a chapter of volunteers. And so we'll be coming to a community near you. The other point I would make, and you've said this before, we did over 3.5 million care packages, going into last year. We're over 3.8 million care packages now on our march to 4 million. And so we're really encouraging people to join us at events like the one on Saturday, but all throughout this year to get us to the 4 millionth care package, and really excited about sharing with everyone how that journey is going on our website.
And just to finish up, once again, anybody watching this, anybody who's listened to this, heard the message of active gratitude, the message of service to others, anyone that this resonates with, there's so many ways that you can get involved. Obviously, you can volunteer, go on operationgratitude.com's page. You can write letters. You can make the bracelets James is talking about. You can share this Operation Gratitude on your social media so people get to know about this organization, so others can come to it. There's so many little and big ways that you can be involved. But I guess, the message is be involved, get involved, do it, take action, be grateful, have that gratitude, and then put that gratitude into practice. And that way you can help change somebody's life, even if it's only one person. Anything you want to wrap up? Because for me, I just say, the people I've met in Operation Gratitude over the years have been some just amazingly great people that's touched my life. And I just feel that, the little bit of service that I've done for Operation Gratitude, has been just every time it's been a great experience for me. So I've always been grateful for having that time and that experience. So I just want to share it and tell other people, to get involved in any way they can with Operation Gratitude. It's not going to do anything but make your life better by doing it.
Exactly right. Right.
But you take it away with any closing comments that you want to make. And before you do that, I just want to say I'm just honored to have met you and to, hear your service. And once again, I think that I've been blessed. One of the things that I've been the richest in life is the people that I get to meet, like yourself, who are people of doing service to make the world better. And I've just known so many people like that. And every time I meet another one, I say, well, I guess God's given me another one to know.
Right.
But, I'm always honored to have met you and honored to know what you're continuing to do with this mission in your life, your new mission. So let me stop and you go ahead and take it from there.
Well, first, I want to say thank you, John. It's a privilege and a pleasure to know you. I just thank you for who you are and what you do. And, this show is such an uplifting show. I've watched your other shows and encourage others to tune in and see some of the others that you've done and watch what's coming up, because what you're doing is so powerful and uplifting. And we need that more than ever across our society. And so thank you for that. I would just finish by saying, our country needs brave men and women more than ever to raise their hand to serve. We always will. We know that. And they will always need to know that what they do matters. And volunteers saying that in meaningful ways is critical for the future, I believe, of our country. Our country's facing some real challenges in recruiting. It's a national imperative. I had a chance to visit with some of our soldiers deployed to Poland last fall. And I can tell you that if people think that we don't have men and women deployed, they're wrong. We have people all over the world deployed, and we really need to send them a strong message of how much we're behind them. And it's in times like this when I think sometimes they can be forgotten. And so I appreciate everyone that's tuning into your show today, that they spent the time to tune into this show. And I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting some of them either on the 18th next Saturday or throughout my travels around the country at our different events and online at operationgratitude.com.
Well, thank you so much. Once again, thank you for taking the time. I look forward to reconnecting with you in person on the 18th up at the event. And that should be a great day. And so, for everybody, there's so much to do. Get out there and get involved, volunteer. Check out Operation Gratitude's page. I'm just going to put it up real quick once again, so you have it and you can always come back to it. This is where you can reach Operation Gratitude at operationgratitude.com. And of course, you look up for Operation Gratitude on Facebook, on Instagram. There's so many ways to stay involved and stay aware of what they're doing, and then share what they're doing as well on your social media. Thank you for your service throughout all the years in the military and what you've done for the country and the nation and what you continue to do in this capacity, James. It's been an honor, and I appreciate you taking the time to share it with me and the people who are watching the show.
Thanks for your time, John. Look forward to seeing you.
All right. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Right. I'm going to put you. All right. All right, everyone. So I just want to kind of wrap up. I hope that you really enjoyed the show, and that today's message of gratitude in action and service to others that Major General James Johnson, CEO of Operation Gratitude, shared with you his history of service throughout his whole life, both in the military as a civilian. I hope it inspired you and gave you a little bit of energy to figure out a way that you can volunteer, and hopefully Operation Gratitude is one way. So definitely check out Operations Gratitude's page. And if anybody who watched the show, if you have any feedback, please reach out to me. If you have any questions about how to reach Operation Gratitude, reach out to me as well. And join us every Sunday at 2 p.m. and meet some of the great friends that I'm blessed to know and live courageously. And here's a picture of the next show next week. Two military veteran filmmakers and actor friends of mine, twins. So that'll be the first time I'm doing a show with two people at the same time, two twins. But join us next Sunday. And once again, may you make your life a masterpiece. And God bless you until I see you next Sunday.